Welcome to podcast Day One Patch Podcast, episode 334. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Tim Spence is here.
Where?
There.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Lawrence.
What's up?
And Adriano Petty.
Hi.
Some of the top stories this week include, this was quite a doozy. Last of Us Remake is apparently in development, and Days Gone 2 pitch has been rejected. This is part of a big report by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier. We'll also talk about his report as well. It has more to do with Sony, kind of how Sony's treating their first-party developers and studios. Also, this is usually the time when we start getting E3 news. E3 has officially been confirmed for this year. It's going to be an all-virtual event, and it is going to be in June, like always. So we'll talk a bit about that. Twitch is banning streamers for serious off-platform conduct and harassment. And then finally, EA patents adaptive difficulty system that adjusts to keep you playing longer. Just to be clear, this story was updated. It was simply EA like refiling for the same thing that they filed. I think we covered this story a while back. But that's what's coming up. What's new with you guys? Tim, what's new with you?
I've really just been playing Oblivion for the most part, even in my off time as well. Like I'm playing other characters off stream. But aside from that, just a lot of Monster Hunter Rise. I'm like finally actually digging into it and getting a lot done. And it's a lot of fun. It's probably the smoothest user experience of any of the games. Like they just let you get into it really quickly, and like it's definitely easier. There's a lot of complaints for the game that it's the easiest game so far, but like they don't have the highest difficulty in the game yet. They always add G rank like afterwards, which is like, you know, you have to know basically like the monster you're fighting. You have to know your weapon, and if you get hit, you probably can't get hit again without getting knocked out. So like it's pretty much like hard mode.
As a newbie, I found Monster Hunter World to be quite difficult.
Yeah, World, even for myself, was like, it was different enough that it was kind of like there was definitely a new learning curve because it was so different from the previous games. But it throws a lot at you. Like I feel Rise doesn't throw as much at you right away. Whereas World was like, you have these huge, open, very complex and intricately designed hunting zones, and like the combat for the game is maybe like a bit slower than what you might be expecting, depending on what weapon you're using.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of have to like temper your expectations when you go into it. I think if you're used to playing other like action RPG type games, it's got a very like particular play style. But what's nice is they have so many different weapon types that control so differently that you can kind of find one that sort of suits your niche the best, and then you can just go full bore into that, or you can branch out to different weapons, or you know, whatever you may like to do. But and then the different monsters as well, like will test your play style as well. Like some monsters are will keep their distance. Some will be always up in your face. Some of them will punish you for being too aggressive. Some of them will punish you for staying too far away. Like, so there's an interesting sort of like passive gameplay teachability to it, if that makes sense. But Rise, I think like, I feel like the monsters have less health because they wanted the hunts to be shorter. Like I would say my average time for a hunt is between 5 and 8 minutes. Whereas in World in the beginning, like it was usually between 10 and 15. So the game feels like I'm progressing through it faster as well.
Right.
And I don't feel like I'm that much better at Monster Hunter with Rise than I was with World. So yeah, I don't know. The different games have different like difficulty curves as well, because it has like the power spikes will be different throughout the games, and like I'm trying to do every hunt like I can along the way and do every request and all these things. Trying to just very slowly like work my way through it. 100%. And I haven't done any of the online stuff yet because there's technically two different like storylines, you could say. There's like the online story that you can follow, which is through the hub quests. And then there's the single player story, which is through the village quests. And I'm still working through the village, but I'm up to the 5-star stuff now. I've already hit credits once, which didn't take very long. I finished the like first beat of the single player story, I think. A friend of mine who's already played through it all said that that's about 3/4 of the way through the like story. But you do a couple more things after that in single player, and then the story continues in the hub quests, and then that's the end of it. So I haven't touched any of the online yet. I'm trying to just kind of take my time with it. And it's actually been a lot of fun. With World, I spent a lot of time playing it like just nonstop, and I burned out really quickly. So with this one, I'm kind of just trying to pick it up, maybe a half hour at a time or an hour, and then, put it down again. It's really nice having it on the Switch just to be able to like pick it up, put it down. It's very convenient.
Is it only on the Switch, or what platforms is it on?
Yeah, Rise is on the Switch, and it's coming to PC next year. But it's probably honestly the most fun I've had with a Monster Hunter game since 4 on the 3DS. 4, I think.
Holy cow.
I think just for like the way the story went and like the designs of the weapons and the hunting zones and things like that, I think 4 will just always be my favorite. But Rise is really, really good. I think honestly probably better for new players than World was, and it just gives you more of that sense of classic Monster Hunter, to be honest, and it really just throws you right into it, which is really, really good. I feel like they wanted to keep people's I think they recognize that people's attention spans are worse now than they used to be, so they try not to make the beginning grind too bad.
Yeah, because they probably have like statistics on how long people stick with these games, right?
They will now for sure. Yeah, the last couple of games being online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see them having a lot of data on that sort of thing because it's a different team, right? They had 2 different teams before. They had like a console team and the portable team, and they would sort of alternate releasing titles.
Okay.
So the last team obviously was a new team that they assembled with some old blood as well as new blood for World. And that became the new console team. And then the portable team, the last one they worked on was Generations, I think, on the 3DS, and then Generations Ultimate on the Switch. And then pretty much as soon as World started, I think they also started working on Rise. So the 2 games sort of were being developed in tandem, but a bit staggered. And I think they took a lot of things that they learned from World and sort of really refined it in Rise, because there are certain gameplay mechanics that are definitely indicative of Generations. That was the game that had like what was called weapon arts. So each of the different weapon types had like 3 different very like over the top flashy anime style moves they could do.
Mm-hmm.
That were basically just like on a timer, and they would just slowly refresh while you were doing your hunt. So there's some slight customization that you can do with each weapon in Rise, on top of already the added like mobility, the fact that you can like use the wire bugs in a bunch of different ways and things like that. It really gives you a lot more freedom, I would say, in a lot of cases. So every weapon having so much more mobility now, and then taking into account that mobility to change up the fights for the different monsters and stuff. So like monsters that were sort of very like low tier back in the day now I think are a little bit more of a threat, because they had to take into account like, oh, if I'm like zipping all around my wire bug and I can like get up on top of buildings and things like that, like what's this one low level bear creature supposed to do? He doesn't have a ranged attack because he's like one of the first things that you come across in the earlier games. And it's not like you could climb walls and things back then, so he didn't need one. But now, since you can just like run on top of like everything and run on walls and climb buildings and things, he's got a thing where he like basically rips up chunks of dirt and rock out of the ground and throws them at you. So it's just those little changes as well that if you're a newcomer to Monster Hunter, you're not going to really like appreciate that as much. But it's interesting to see these old monsters be refreshed a little bit and a little more polished, and the considerations they had to make when it came to new mobility in this game. But yeah, it's really good. If you liked World, you'll probably love Rise. I have friends who played World as their first Monster Hunter game, and Rise is like, they like it way more. I have yet to do the online, but I played the demo a fair amount when that came out in February, and it's really seamless. It's actually pretty impressive how good the online is on the Switch, of all things, because normally the Switch is like not super good for anything that's not first party Nintendo. But yeah, it's really good.
Cool. Matt?
Me?
Yes.
More Bethesda stuff, specifically Morrowind. So I am officially over the hump of the story, and I am preparing for the end. So the characters in the game are all telling me about what I need to do and how do I need to get there. So I'm doing all the preparations. So I think I mentioned last week that I was using like an unofficial, not a guide, but an unofficial. I suppose that it is an unofficial guide, but I was only using the chapters that were written in there to sort of gauge where I was. Well, I switched over to the Elder Scrolls wiki, which is actually the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, which is kind of the place for everything Elder Scrolls, or at least that's what I know it for. So I've been using their guide instead, just to guide myself through this. And there's three. So in their main story guide, they have three sort of main chapters. There's the beginning, which is Caius's quest. He's like a character in the game, and then the next one is basically preparing. I don't know the name of them anymore, but it's like preparing to be this prophesized person called the Neverine, I believe. And then the next one is just two quests, which is literally like the end. So there's like the three main chapters. I've done all the Caius quests; those are well done, and I've done the rather large intro quest to the second one. Now I'm basically being told, okay, you gotta like unite Morrowind, basically. And you got to go and talk to, there's three tribes of dark elves that live in these camps built out of yurts and stuff like this all throughout the different regions. So I have to go and get them to agree that I'm this prophesized Neverine person. And then I need to go to, I don't know what they are. I believe they're factions that you can join, but I don't know what their purpose is because I've never actually joined one. There's like House Hulau, House Redoran, and House something else. And I need to go to them, and they have a title called the Hortador or something like that. So I need
These names sound ridiculous.
It's like that. The problem with that game is like the names are just out there, and so like I forget exactly what I'm doing all the time. There was actually a really stupid problem too. Like I don't know whether I missed something, but I've been playing this game at least like once or twice a week, more so usually just to sort of keep myself on track, kind of thing, to kind of meet the goal of beating it. And I like. Caius is referred to as Caius in the journal, and he's even referred to as Caius in like the quest previous to the one I'm about to tell you about. Then the next quest, it says, go talk to the Spy Master. And I was like, who the fuck is the Spy Master? And I couldn't figure out who the hell it was, so I had to Google it to like look it up, and it was like, oh, just go talk to Caius. And I was like, why the fuck? Like, literally the previous journal entry says Caius would have a good idea of what to do here. And then the next one's like, go talk to the Spy Master. Who the fuck? Like, okay, so anyway, there's that. Whether I'm missing something or whatever, I don't know. But I now need to go and become this Hortador or whatever of all these. I'm doing those ones first. I'm doing the different houses because I'm already the Neverine of one of the tribes. And I actually found one of the other tribes accidentally. I just kind of like accidentally walked over and found them. So I need to find the last one. But here's the thing. So I need to become this like top person, whatever, in 3 of these houses. And I thought like the one guy I went to their headquarters, and they're like, oh, if you want to talk to our leaders or whatever, here's a book that tells you where all our leaders' last known location is, and go talk to this guy named Crass Curio or something like that. He's actually the guy that wrote Lusty Argonian Maid. And yeah. And he actually like wanted me to like, he gave me a copy of it too. Fucking guy. But apparently he like writes plays and like people know him. So I knew where he was because I'd already done that quest probably previous. So I was like, okay, so I go and talk to him, and he's like, oh, like you can pay me off basically. Like I'll give like everyone, all the leaders of each of the houses have to vote. This is what I didn't know. I thought it was just going to be 1 leader per. All the leaders need to vote. So he's like, give me $1,000 and I'll vote for you. So I was like, sure, here you go. I have tons of money. Here you go. And then that happened. But then he's like, oh, well, there's these other there's these other leaders. And he's like, this one is like a mystery. No one knows where he is. This other one, she lives on in a manor house and like kind of gives me like a brief description of where she is. This other person is also in like a manor house, but it's like a manor house, more like a farmhouse of a plantation. So you can go find her there. And then there's an Argonian, I believe. And apparently he just doesn't like it. So they're like, oh, well, all the other leaders wouldn't mind if you just killed her. And I was like, all right. And it's like, yeah, so if you just kill this other person and then go get everyone else's votes, that means all the leaders have voted. So I was like, all right, like I'm trying to get this done expediently. So fine, I guess. So I didn't realize, I thought it was just going to be like one leader per each of these houses. So it's going to be a little bit of a journey still. But like I said, I'm already well into it. And I'm kind of like, I've been watching this Mikey D guy on YouTube, like I mentioned last week. And he doesn't do guides. He just does like challenges in Morrowind. Like, oh, I'm going to go do this at level 1 and stuff like that. And I've been like just picking up on what he's doing. And then I've also been watching the odd guide. And I basically have like the super fast boots that don't blind me at all now, because I did like this like spell trick. So I can run around really quick. I'm almost level 20, so I'm
fast boots that don't blind me at all.
Yeah, well, because they're the
age we live in.
Well, it's they give me they boost my speed by 200, but they give you 100% blindness. But as an orc, I resist magicka by 25%, so it only makes me 75% blind. But this is what I did. So this game's fucking nuts. So I went to this orc, works for the Mages Guild, and I bought a spell from her of resist magicka. Then I went to this other person, and I think it's actually in the same room, and this other person, and she sells like, you can create your own spells, and then she like puts them together, I guess, and gives them to you. So I made a spell. Now I would need 100%, like there's a range, so I would need like 100 to 100 in order to guarantee this. But I'm an orc, I don't have much magicka, but because I'm also an orc, I don't need 100, I need 75. And so I did 75 to 75 resist magicka on self. But what I did was I did it for 1 second. Most people recommend 2. I did it for 1 second. Now I can only cast it once or twice, and then I have to rest to get my magicka back, because you can also fail at casting it. I think I can cast it at a rate of around 40% success rate. So what I basically do is I cast it, and if it fails, I just rest. And then I cast it again. And when I cast it, if it works, while it's applying, I go into the inventory, which pauses the game, and I put the boots on. And the boots and all effects in this game are like spells on you or on whatever they're doing. And it applies the spell, but because I'm resisting magicka simultaneously, I resist the blind, but I get the speed because the speed's an attribute. So I do that so I can run really quick. So I have that. I raided like a vault. There's like this vault that you can get a lot of good gear in. So I raided that as well. None of this via cheating. Like I didn't use God mode or anything. This is like all just me looking up guides and figuring out how to play basically. So I did that. I have better gear than that now for the most part. So I have that. And I'm like ripping through this game now. Like, short of being stuck on like, go talk to this person, and I can't remember who like these people's names, so I just have to look them up, otherwise I'll be jumping around like crazy. I know where to travel now. Basically, I know where the cities are. I know where all the guilds are. I know where to get good stuff, free stuff. I know where to buy things. I know what to look for. So I'm kind of ripping through this game now. So even though I'm at this part that's probably going to be a bit of a grind of like, I don't know, potentially, let's say 4 leaders per. So it'd be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Oh, I guess I'm missing. I guess the one doesn't. So I don't know. Let's just say 20-ish missions, because I don't actually know if it's going to be 4 each or whatever. 20-ish quote unquote missions. I'm sure like some of them I'll probably just end up bribing. Some of them I'll just end up killing. So it's just like find this person, kill them, find this person, bribe them. So I'm well set up. I have a lot of gear. I have a house now. I didn't realize you can get a house in the game. Caius, I mean, spoiler, I guess, but Caius gives you his house, and then he goes back to the Imperial City. What? So I just been dropping everything on the floor, because apparently that's what people do. So I just dropping everything on the floor. So I have like a lot of gear. I have lots of money. I have lots of stuff to sell if I run out of money. So I'm able to bribe everybody, and I'm just like fully set up. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm only doing the main story. I'm not doing any of the side stuff really anymore. Here and there I will if it's really, really easy. I was doing the story and stuff, but what was happening was I was going in for a play session, doing a bunch of side stuff, only leveling up a little bit, and then it's like, well, I didn't get any further in my goal. And I just really don't want to lose focus and get bored of Morrowind and then not end up beating the story. So I can always go back and like join all these factions and stuff, of which I don't think I will, to be honest. So that's also why I'm just like, okay, you know what? Let's just get this damn story done. But I know I'm pretty far because I hit a point with a cutscene, which is like really rare in Bethesda games, and even more rare like back then, as far as I can tell anyway. So I'm definitely over the hump. I'm done more than half of the missions themselves, if you just count out the missions, depending on how long they are, of course. And that's where I'm at. So hopefully, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks or something like that, because I'm not like I'm playing this thing every day. A couple weeks, probably I'll have it done, and that'll be it. What's good about this is that... What's that?
Ooh, doggy.
Yeah, like I'm leveled up. Like I'm like one of the missions or one of the DLCs is Solstheim, which is the island in the north, which has like werewolves and stuff, and that's supposed to be done at a high level, of which is level 20. I'm level 18 or 19, so I'm doing good. I have 100 axe like skill. I have a lot of the other skills. I'm working on armor and stuff like that slowly, just because obviously I'm like fixing my own stuff as it gets broken, stuff like that. But I am like lacking in the exploration department. I'm doing it here and there if I need some money or something, but I'm just trying to do that. But other than that, real brief, I started Outriders with Ryan actually, and that game is fucking fun. And what a great addition to Game Pass! Like holy crap, to get that game for free, like that's nuts. But yeah, that's a fun one. Yes, there's some server problems here and there, but I mean, nothing that hasn't, completely stopped us. Some crashes for sure. Usually when we have server problems, the game crashes, which is annoying.
Hopefully patching like this weekend.
Yeah, and it was improving. Like you and I, Ryan, were like crashing every mission ish, which the mission's like pretty long. Then it kind of became like, I don't know, we did like one long play session, like days after that initial play session, and it was like we crashed like twice. So it's not too bad. Like, sure, it kind of sucks, whatever. But like, I don't know, the game runs really smooth other than that. And I don't know, I've been having a real blast with it. It's super fun. So that's what I have been doing.
Hey, Geronimo?
What have I? Let me bring up.
You got a spreadsheet? What's going on over there?
I keep just this quick little dumb because I can never remember what I actually played during the week, even though it's the same shit every goddamn week.
Hearthstone.
Yeah, Hearthstone.
Heroes of the Storm before it gets pulled offline.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you guys are so good so far. There's two more. One of them I played. Actually, both the other two I also played with.
Let's say Sea of Thieves and Overwatch.
Overwatch, Sea of Thieves, Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone,
Payday 2,
and Payday 2. Done.
Ori and the
Fucking
Blind
hell.
Forest.
That's my list.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
That's Adriano's corner.
I mostly just did Outriders with Matt, and I am also enjoying it. I probably would not have bought this otherwise if I didn't have it on Game Pass. So I think that's a win for the Game Pass cause.
Huge win, honestly.
It's kind of a good mix between like Destiny and Division
and Gears.
There's definitely a Gears vibe to it all.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, like the sci-fi element is not that innovative. It just seems like a normal sci-fi kind of thing to me. The acting isn't terribly great, but it's fun. Like the game's super fun, and so you can kind of look past all the little gripes you might have and just have fun playing it. And it's difficult, but not to the point where we're getting frustrated. I remember us getting frustrated in some Division missions where it was just like, these guys are just soaking up our bullets. It's like me and Matt are actually able to like strategize when we lose and actually come back in and win the next time.
It's very disappointing that I don't have access to it on my Game Pass.
Call up your buddy Phil.
I was looking. I'm always looking for that like other Division fix until the next Division.
This is probably it.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I would have loved to have played this with you guys, but I guess I would have to have bought it on Steam for what, $80? Is it a full? Yeah, I don't know.
Is it only Game Pass and not Game Pass for PC?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Damn.
that's the unfortunate part. If they were to do a second one, though, if they like clean it up
What,
and they
it's
say
5 years.
yeah, but let's say
I mean, it
'cause
might
you
come
said-
to Game Pass PC though. To
Yeah.
be fair.
But if they were to do a second one and they cleaned it up, because you said you wouldn't have bought it, Ryan.
Yeah.
If they did a second one and they kind of fixed the issues and evolved on it as sequels generally do, would you buy it then? Would you buy the second one?
I'm like 100% probably.
Yeah, I'm at 100% too on that.
I'm a little unclear if this is like a live game, because I don't really see a lot of people talking about it being a live kind of game. Now maybe they have like a roadmap where they're going to be adding new missions and whatnot. Well, me and Matt are probably somewhat far from the end game.
Yeah,
It'll be
I'd say we're
interesting to
like
see what actually
40%,
happens.
like 40% ish.
Yeah. So I don't know if this game's going to like continue on into the future or if there will be sequels or who knows what the plan is. I think there are expansions planned though. Maybe don't quote me on that.
I will say it is nice to have a game like this where, I mean, I guess The Division is the same way actually, but where purchasing things like for real money is not like thrown in your face. Like everything that we earn in the game is earned, including the victories, which is nice. Like Ryan was saying, the strategizing.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually surprised it's not to see that there is no store.
That's weird. Yeah,
it's kind of refreshing, but at the same time, I've gotten used to stores.
Are there any microtransactions at all?
I don't think so,
not so far, unless it's in the end game.
but that would be weird to cut it off now. You could be getting revenue now.
Yeah, I mean there are aesthetics, and you earn these things called accolades, which is sort of like a battle pass, but there's nothing to purchase. It's quite literally just like, oh, earn aesthetics for your convoy, which follows you through the world. It kind of like drives you there. And it's just paint jobs. And everything is just like, oh, you got to this level as your character, or hey, you like killed this creature, or you did this many bounties. Like it's just totally passive, and or you could go for the challenges, but it's just gameplay. It's not a monetization method. Now, could that be changed into something? Yeah, like definitely. But so could just a store be added as well. But I didn't know how much I enjoyed looter shooters in general until this, because I did really like The Division, but I just thought I liked The Division. I didn't really play too many looter shooters like this. But
well, there is something addictive about constantly getting new gear that's better than what you currently had.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah, it's like playing Diablo, right? It's just
Yeah.
constantly picking up stuff and finding gear, and like that 1 or 2% stat increase as you're going through and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So I would recommend.
I would say I would buy it if they took it away from Game Pass.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right.
Yeah. It definitely won me over.
You'd still have your access to your saves, right? Or is that a different is it server side, or is it something that like if you
I would imagine it's server side, but again,
Yeah.
I don't know for sure,
I would think that they would have access to their saves, probably.
because there is cross play support. I don't know if there's cross save or not. I'm not sure on that, but
Well, if we bought it on like if we we've been playing on Xbox, and let's just say we it goes away from Xbox Game Pass, and like I wanted to buy it on Xbox, I would still have my save even if it was local. Like the game is smart enough to realize like, oh, it's not the Game Pass license. It's
And
he bought
I don't
it.
think they do that weird Sony thing where like the PS Plus version is like a different version or whatever it was. There's something weird about Final Fantasy. Remember, you couldn't get the upgrade to PS5 if you got
Oh,
the
that's
PS4.
I'm
Final
still
Fantasy.
trying to figure out my control bullshit. I don't even know what the fuck's going on with that.
Well, I think you needed to claim the PS5 version of.
Which is fine.
Control.
Which is fine. I'm totally fine with not having the PS5 version. I'm just trying to figure out which version I do have, because when I go to the store on the PS5, I don't see a claimed one in the store. It says I can buy either one, but I have one installed and I have one like I don't know what version I have. It's killing me.
Oh, if you have it installed, I had this problem not with purchasing, but just with logistics of Avengers. If it tells you the console on your PlayStation 5, you're on the PlayStation 5 hardware and it tells you the console, it'll say PS4. That means it's PS4. If it does not disclose, it's PS5.
Okay, so then I'll go through my scenario. It says PS4 on my PS5.
Okay.
It says the thumbnail just says control. but the description below says control, like when when you're hovering over it and then like your theme kind of changes and then okay, so the background and then there's a store tile that says Control Ultimate Edition.
Oh God.
But it says I can buy it. It doesn't say that I have it already when I'm hovering over my control tile. Going back to the PS Plus, the one that we claimed, I'm supposed to have Control Ultimate Edition.
Yeah.
But it just says Control, and then it says I can buy Control Ultimate Edition. And then when I go into the store, there's another Control and another Control Ultimate Edition, which have two other separate icons, which don't match my icon.
Oh my Christ!
So I think, and I have to verify this by going into the PlayStation 4 store or to the website. But I think what it's doing is they have a separate PlayStation 4 version of Control, a separate PlayStation 4 version of Control Ultimate Edition, a separate PlayStation 5 version of Control, and a separate PlayStation 5 version of Control Ultimate Edition. And I think I only have one of the PS4 ones. But because I'm on the PS5 and I go into the store, it doesn't show me the PS4 option.
You'd have to go into your library, go to PlayStation Plus.
That's what I think is happening.
That's a mess.
Holy Christ.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that, Adrian.
I spend more time figuring out the games that I do have than actually playing the games that I do.
Fuck.
I hope you get it going though, because that's a good game.
I plan on it at some point.
It's like trying to start up any Bethesda game. It's like, all right, I've installed it. Now, how do I get all these mods to work? And which mods do I install?
You do vanilla Morrowind is what you do. In 4x3.
I mean, at that point, you may as well just go back and play Daggerfall.
Wait, is there a mod that makes it 16:9?
Oh, yeah,
there are. Wait, which one? Daggerfall?
No.
Well, that also does come in 16:9 now, but
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a Unity update that makes it more 3D and make it work on like modern systems, apparently.
All right, well, let's hop into the stories for this week. The first one here is The Last of Us Remake, reportedly in development, and Days Gone 2 pitch rejected. This comes from IGN, but this is from a Bloomberg report. Into dissatisfaction among Sony's lesser-known studios, sources say that a Last of Us Remake, codenamed T1X, was started by Michael Mumbauer, and the founder of Visual Arts Service Group, a Sony developer that traditionally assists development on PlayStation Studios games. Mumbauer apparently assembled a new 30-strong development group, and after passing on the idea of a remake of the first Uncharted game, settled on a remake of 2013's The Last of Us. However, the team reportedly ran into trouble after Sony kept their existence a secret and refused to offer extra budget. Head of PlayStation Studios Herman Hulst apparently deemed the project too expensive, and Mumbauer's team was moved to support development of The Last of Us 2. Now, I guess first of all, we'll just start off with, what do you guys think of a Last of Us remake?
Unnecessary.
Isn't this strange?
yeah, I mean, they already ported it to PS4. I don't know that we need to have it completely done again. Then there's 3 instances of the same game. And this ain't Skyrim, you know?
Yeah. Matt, you made a good point when we were just texting about this, that it's not like that game's unplayable or has like outdated mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfectly modern game.
Yeah.
That,
There's nothing
that
wrong with
anyone would have no trouble playing.
I just played through it completely for the first time myself last year, and it was a completely enjoyable experience. There was nothing that really felt dated about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about, you know, games that that age poorly. Like, I mean, Morrowind is an example of one. You know, no quest markers and stuff like that, where games over time from that game's release onward kind of like, you know, have better quality of life improvements, game design moves on and improves and whatever. So like something like Morrowind, you know, could do with a remake, of course. And that's why Morrow Oblivion, the mod, is like so popular, because Oblivion is definitely more modern. You know, you're definitely going to have some aged stuff in there, but it's definitely playable. It's 360, so it's like there's not that much quality of life improvement from then till now. But like with Last of Us, like you could pick up a controller and just just play that and not be like, how do these menus work? And like, where do I go? And like, it's not like a question of how do you play this? It's totally modern. I don't understand. If they want to upgrade the textures and stuff, which I think they did in one of the versions, I mean, absolutely go ahead. Of course, 4K TVs, whatever. But
so not only did it get a like HD upres for the PS4, right? It also got a PS4 Pro patch as well. And a patch to like reduce like load times and such. So it's had work done to it.
This is the first one you're talking about.
Yes.
Oh my God, Sony, pump your resources into something else. Holy shit.
So if you actually read this article, which I do suggest, it's called Sony's Obsession with Blockbusters is Stirring Unrest Within the PlayStation Empire. It's on Bloomberg by Jason Schreier. He kind of explains that Sony is really focused on kind of these big, massive projects that will kind of guarantee sales and interest in the PS5 rather than kind of helping out their smaller studios to grow and become bigger studios. And so one of the reasons why they wanted to remaster The Last of Us might have been the HBO TV series that's coming out. Right. And so they would release this remaster along with, I guess, a PS5 version maybe of The Last of Us 2. And then that would be alongside the TV show.
Is this? You said the show is going to change the telling. Is this remake of the game going to be change the telling of it to be more like the show?
I think this is actually more of a remake in the sense of that Demon Souls was a remake, where it's basically the same game, fresh coat of paint, fresh, everything. Basically using Last of Us 2's whole style,
right?
But on Last of Us 1.
How different is Last of Us 2 from Last of Us in style?
In terms of visuals, pretty large jump.
What if it's not actually a remake where they're just going to do the same story with a different coat of paint and more updated motion capture technology and things like that? What if, like you said, the show is going to have a different telling? What if the game follows the show's telling? What if it's just a different like alternate reality type thing?
I would be totally okay with if they did a reimagining and they wanted to take the story in a different direction. Like the first IP that I thought of when that idea came up today in our WhatsApp chat was I thought of Silent Hill and Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which is essentially just they took the base characters and they said they did a completely different take on the Harry Mason, Cheryl Mason story, and the framework was completely changed. The narrative style was completely changed, and all they did was just kind of roll over the most broadest of character traits for each character, and they went in a completely different direction. So if they did that with Last of Us, and they kind of just took the name, I could kind of see that being okay, but like what they're describing, nah.
It sounds like if they're worried about the project being too expensive, that kind of says to me that it's just simply going to be a fresh coat of paint, less than like actually remaking the entire game with new actors, or especially if they were planning on like pitching it with The Last of Us 2 as well.
It sounds like a waste of time, but it will sell.
Oh yeah, because I would probably buy it.
I would not buy it, but I can think of many people who would.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like I said, it's pretty much guaranteed sales. And I mean, to be fair, Sony did outsell Microsoft for the PS4, Xbox One era, and it was largely to do with the available content. I mean, It was also, the launch was just way stronger with the lack of DRM and, lower price and things like that. But also, like, people think of exclusive titles, they think of PlayStation. They don't so much think of Microsoft anymore. Even though Microsoft does have a lot of exclusives, it's just not the same to the same degree as Sony. And
we're also still waiting on a ton.
That's the thing. Like they're in progress. And that's probably largely the reason why Microsoft spent all that money to acquire Bethesda, is because they needed a blockbuster studio to drive console sales.
Yeah.
So is Sony, kind of foolish from the customer's perspective for doing something like that? Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, clearly works. So why wouldn't they do it?
Well, Matt, we got some bad news for you.
What?
This was in the same report. Bloomberg also says that Sony Bend pitched a sequel to Days Gone after the game's release in 2019, but was rejected.
Sons of
Sony-
bitches.
Sony then apparently moved Bend developers onto 2 Naughty Dog projects: a multiplayer game, presumably the standalone Last of Us multiplayer game, and a new Uncharted project, which has also been rumored recently. So, no more Boozer, Matt.
Well, here's the thing. This isn't about Days Gone though, but this is just I have not read that article yet, but like just from the headline, like the one thing that I think they're missing out on is like something like Outriders is a good example because we just talked about it. Outriders is not this big masterpiece of a game that defines the genre. The Division, I remember it because I really liked it, but that didn't define the PS4 for me. There's no like, oh look, like the Division, the Division. Like it's just like a fun, not, well, kind of mindless at times, but like it's just like a good shooter, RPG, loot shooter, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's just like a good game, period. It's not a masterpiece, but it's like it's good, it's fun, whatever. And like same with Division 2, in my opinion, and also Outriders. See, the thing with Sony is sure they want to hit the blockbusters, like Tim said, they want to get people in because there's like they have a lot of these defining games, blockbuster games, whatever. But there's nothing stopping them from having a spin-off studio that does the B projects where they could still be AAA games, but they're just like, this is like The Division. This is a loot shooter. This is an indie game that like we helped publish or something. This is like, there's nothing stopping them because they're making so much money from these big blockbuster titles that, yeah, when like, I get it. If they're on, I mean, I was going to say E3 stage, but I guess that ship has sailed. But like if they're on some sort of stage on State of Play or whatever, and you see that PlayStation Studios or whatever publisher logo come up, yeah, okay, if you don't want to associate that brand with anything but blockbusters and you want people that when they see that logo, something big's coming, God of War, whatever. Yeah, okay, I get it, totally. So, but you could just have that B studio where it's just like whatever they call it, whatever, and it's a different logo, it's a different branding, but it's also exclusives because realistically, I mean, they could, like PlayStation really could have some really good just games because most of the time when we're playing games in general, yeah, there's these masterpieces. Like Morrowind was a masterpiece of its time. Oblivion was probably a masterpiece of its time. I don't really remember. I was kind of young, but like, I thought it was like, that's a defining thing for me for the 360. There's like God of War, stuff like that. Like there's these masterpieces of their time, but most of the time we're playing like Overwatch, Fallout 76, and there's nothing wrong with these games, but they're not masterpieces. And Sony's missing out on all of that money. COD Mobile made $10 billion. Like, what are they doing? They could get that money.
The report makes it sound like the battle they're having right now is making consumers feel like they need a PlayStation, right? Whereas a Days Gone sequel might not make people feel like they need to buy a PlayStation over an Xbox, but something like a Last of Us or a new Uncharted game, would.
But here's the thing: is like we need games on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I know.
My PlayStation my PlayStation 5 sat idle for a week or so because there's no Fallout 76 season. Their Outriders was given to us on Game Pass, so Microsoft effectively won that toss of the coin, right? Even though it is on both platforms. And like PlayStation is, they need a game. They need games on there. Like what's bringing people there? PlayStation 5 version of Avengers? Like,
well, they do have games. Like before this launch of these consoles, like PlayStation clearly had the dominated, or they're dominating in the exclusives. And a lot of those exclusives do roll over to the PS5. Like clearly Microsoft acquired Bethesda to counter that. So PlayStation still has footing in that area. They just gotta, I guess they I lost my train of thought, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Like they're like the vibe I'm kind of getting is like they're kind of a one-trick pony. They make what they consider and what a lot of other people consider masterpiece level titles, and then they are like, oh, this works, so we'll stick with it. Of course, stick with it. Like, I'm not saying get rid of those, but they need those filler titles. And yeah, you're right, Geronimo. There's a shit ton of freaking PS4 games you can play on the PS5. But the thing is like a lot of these games have been, kind of exhausted or at least from my perspective, have been exhausted because I've been playing a lot of these games to the point where, like 76, like we've run out of content. We need a new season. You know, we're waiting for the next season. We're waiting for the next update. Whereas like the Xbox, I mean, sure, like I don't play it all that much, but the Xbox has the Game Pass. They're just tossing us so many games that and for free too. Like Sony has those masterpiece games, and those masterpiece games require you to sort of like sit down and play them. Like you kind of need to like really get into them. But they need it, in my opinion, they need it, and maybe not even exclusive. Maybe that's why they don't care. But they need to have these filler titles. Outriders is one of them. That's fine because it is on PlayStation. But like, I think they need these filler titles. They need to have these. Sony should make like a really good Division level something, and then that's only on PlayStation, and that's like an MMO, and that makes them a bunch of money. So that if one of their masterpieces flops, because it will happen eventually, then it's not like, well, we're fucked. And something like Days Gone, whereas I really enjoyed it, Days Gone's just like a really good, in my opinion anyway, zombie open world game. Is it a masterpiece? Does it push the bar? No. It doesn't have good acting, in my opinion, and stuff like that. Like the story's kind of like, but like I just liked improving my bike, driving around, killing hordes. But that's not Sony level.
That's the part that's kind of sad. Is like, I make fun of Days Gone a lot, but I did enjoy the game. And you could definitely see where they could have gone with a sequel. There's definitely potential there. So it's just a sad thing that they're not gonna get that. And then they're just like they get sent off to do like Naughty Dog's like side projects. You know what I mean?
Like grunt work, yeah. Like thanks for this game that I assume sold okay. Thanks for this game that sold okay. Go do this. Go do our big studio's work. It's like okay.
I think what the ironic part of all of it is like obviously Sony knows that like if they wanted to make $10 billion, they could look at COD Mobile and be like, all right, look, that's working. We could do something like that. And Sony knows how they could print money, but they say like their slogan for PlayStation it's always been about experiences. Like we want to be offering players these like experiences that they can't have anywhere else. But when I sit here and think about it, and you had mentioned it briefly before, and I was going to touch on, when you think back to the games that you enjoyed playing when you were younger, based on the experiences you had playing it, it's never usually single player games. Like maybe if it's something kind of like groundbreaking at the time, like Oblivion or Skyrim or Morrowind or whatever. But typically, it's not single player games that you think about. You usually think about multiplayer games. You think back to the experiences that you had with your friends while you were playing multiplayer games, whether it was sitting there next to each other playing, Mario Party on N64, or if it was, Halo 3 playing online on Xbox Live for the first time. Like it's always going to be the multiplayer experiences. So if Sony is so hell-bent on having people like have their console for the sake of the experience, why spend all this money, all this time, all this effort back in these huge studios that are already huge because they are like, it's a safe bet, it'll print money. But like, if you wanted to print money, you could just print more with something like COD Mobile. So why not encourage these smaller studios, or at least these games that are going to have maybe not grandiose multiplayer experiences, but like you can look at games like Fortnite or, goddamn Roblox or something that's like small, but it's multiplayer. And it dominates the scene. You have things like Among Us, Phasmophobia, these games that just have huge, huge, huge impact on the industry from like the very moment that they start being whispered about until the day they fade into obscurity. Like, it doesn't have to be a AAA blockbuster to have that impact and to have those experiences. If you want people who are playing games to have experiences, I mean, it's right there for you.
And so this has caused a bit of unrest within Sony because people from Bend are actually like leaving. I believe also, what was his name? Michael Mumbauer, I believe he also left. And so they're actually losing talent because of this now, because people just don't feel like Sony's kind of
not prioritizing
on the side of the
game
studios
industry anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this
and
why
as a PlayStation fan, I'm actually pretty concerned about the future of where Sony's heading.
Is this why Sean Layden left? Do you think that he saw something like this brewing? Because we discussed him leaving.
That
and
was
it kinda
quite a
seemed-
while ago.
He
I
probably
don't-
left because he just wanted to go and.
I'm not sure why
said-
he left.
He probably wanted to retire.
But Andrew House left too.
There was a shakeup during that time. I can't remember the exact details, but yeah, there was some certain things. I do remember. Again, that is just my memory, so it could be wrong. But I remember Sony Japan was upset that the PlayStation division wasn't making more money.
Oh, for Christ's sake!
It's
Because
never
it was
enough.
it's like their only profitable like sector, right?
Never enough.
They're only profitable hardware, yeah.
So they're really trying to push it, I guess, and then that caused a kerfuffle.
You know what's scary too is like as if Sony continues to lose talent, Sony kind of historically is, unless there's mass outrage like with crossplay, and even then, they're slow. They're slow at changing. They're slow at moving things around, and also like they have PlayStation Now. Like if you go on PlayStation Now and look at it, PlayStation Now has been around since PlayStation 4, early PlayStation 4 from my memory, and right now with the titles on there, PlayStation Now is super viable, and they do not push that thing at all. Like it is a legitimate Game Pass like competitor. But it isn't actually, because then they don't talk about it at all.
It doesn't feel like it is, even though it is.
You can play it on PC, I'm pretty sure.
You can, yeah.
Like
Streaming at least, right?
Yeah, it's above and beyond the capability right now of Xbox Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass, the streaming part, is only on the phones right now.
If I learned anything from Mad Men, it was that when a brand is broken, you have to rebrand, and I think that's kind of what's happening with PlayStation Now. Is they could push all this marketing behind it, and I still think it's going to have the same reputation. I think they should just like say we're shutting down PlayStation Now, and here's the new PlayStation Game Pass. You know,
Or something. Well, here's the other thing too is, like I would say like Sony, like the crossplay thing, they moved super slow on. They moved super freaking slow on that. Sony is like a good example is like their hardware innovation. I'm sorry to say this, but like the hardware of the PlayStation 5 runs fine, whatever. It's fucking huge. It's too fucking big. And like they always try to be like outside of the box, but then they don't like back it up. A good example is that hardware, not the PlayStation 5, but the DualSense. Oh, you don't need a headset. There's a microphone right in the controller. That microphone sounds like actual trash. Like, come on. Like, why did you push out this innovative thing? Don't use a headset, just use the controller, and then the microphone sucks.
mm-hmm.
Like, it's like PlayStation Now. Here's this really innovative thing. You can now use, I think they called it Gaikai back then. You can now use Gaikai to stream your PlayStation 3 games to your PlayStation 4. And then the support disappears. Like, it's still there, but they just sort of like stop talking about it. PS TV, and we're, okay, yeah, that's good enough. And they just don't like, it's like they don't follow it up. There's just like not an oomph behind it. Like maybe the PlayStation 5 hardware, like the console itself, that's maybe some more subjective. But like that microphone and that DualSense is a piece of trash. It is a piece of trash. It's terrible.
All right, let's move on here. Oh, E3. How you guys feeling about E3?
Isn't it canceled?
No. It's been reimagined as an all-virtual event coming in June. This is from Polygon. Will take place between June 12th and 15th. Will feature content from Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, Warner Bros. Games, and Koch Media? Koch?
Yeah, sure.
Wait, what? Who? Like, how do you spell it? Like Coca-Cola?
Koch.
All right. Sure.
So that's actually a pretty good list. Obviously, Sony's not there. EA's not there. They haven't been to E3 in a while. Otherwise, they got kind of all the other big guys, except for like Square Enix and.
Let's put it this way: I have forgotten about E3 well before COVID-19. It's now gotten to the point where now when somebody utters the letter and the number E3 to me, I don't think of E3. I just think of the ward at the one hospital because it goes letter number. I just think, oh, I have to go up to E3 to do work. Like that's the first thing that registers to my brain now. It's not the video game thing anymore.
Game developers and publishers will showcase their games at E3 directly to fans around the world, the ESA said. E3 2021 content will be free to access thanks to unannounced global media partners. I want E3 to continue.
I'm sure you do, buddy.
I want E3 to continue, but I'm almost at a point where me personally, I think like almost like the brand is broken.
There's no reason that it should be broken, though. It's almost like everyone just woke up one day and said, "Yeah, screw E3."
Yeah, I agree with you there. It was kind of like the Twitter outrage, and that's what kind of was not outrage.
What did they do? Like they just put on like conferences every year. Like, what's there to hate? I don't understand. I think a lot of the press too was kind of pissed off because there was that leak of all their emails and whatnot. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Which was an accident. It's not like the ESA was like, "Ha, take this."
Gotcha.
But apparently it was just like on a not too encrypted website. Like it was just like posted on a random page that anyone could just go to.
Someone found it. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't even like it was an accident. It was very carelessly done.
Well,
but, like,
good luck to E3, I guess.
But yeah, like we saw the decline of E3 leading way before the end of the world happened.
I feel like it's one of those self-fulfilling prophecies where everyone's just saying, "Oh, E3 is going to die. E3 is going to die."
I'm with you on that.
And then they end up killing it, even though it had no reason to die.
Yeah, I'm with you on that because like even though Sony left, like again, that's another weird thing that Sony did. But like Sony leaves E3, okay, fine. Like there's tons. Like Bethesda was new there. You know, there was a newcomer, and then. Like, yeah, like why did E3 die? Like, what? I couldn't give you an answer, really.
I guess Bethesda is now going to be part of the Xbox conference.
That's a good question.
I wonder if they would keep it separate. Maybe
they're not on the list here, but I feel like Xbox would want that at their own event because they'd have more eyes on theirs, probably.
I wonder if it'll be longer now. Well, I don't know.
God, Xboxes were always so long.
Do it back to back. Do the Xbox and then do Bethesda, or do Bethesda and do the Xbox.
Didn't Bethesda
and then they can complement each other.
Present on the same day anyway.
I remember Bethesda's always Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday. That's right.
I don't
Sunday
remember
before the Monday
the actual
with all the big conferences.
Okay.
I don't ever remember when Xbox's was though.
Monday.
I never
morning.
kept up with the actual schedule. I always just like waited for all the trailers to go up on YouTube.
For most of my recollection, it was on Monday morning. It was Xbox, EA, Ubisoft, Sony, with Nintendo on the Tuesday, and then when Bethesda finally came in, that was on the Sunday before. So there you go. I will be watching. So you got one viewer E3.
I'll watch it too. Let's put it this way: they could do an E3 they could officially call it E3 and do one every year from now till the end of time, and I will still watch it. But also, if it went away, I wouldn't give a shit.
Okay. Well, I'm weird with this too because like I like getting all my news. I've said this before. I like getting all my news in all those conferences. Like obviously we have a couple podcasts and stuff like this, but I would get the majority of like, oh, I'm gonna play this game this year and this game this year, and like kind of almost like very 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 loosely because things get delayed. Plan out what I'm gonna purchase that year. Let's say. During E3, or like know what to get hyped for, or know what to look for, and I would get most of my information from there. But like now, it's like I'm definitely gonna watch it. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy, Ryan. Like there's no like I can't even come up with a reason why I wouldn't watch it.
I remember your message when they first announced Fallout 4.
Oh yeah,
you were just hammering. You were so excited, man. Like I hope you get that again one day. I hope you can experience what you had that day because. I'll never forget like just the random letters you were punching into the group chat and just like I'm trying to dissect what the fuck you're saying.
That is forever chasing that high though.
Yeah.
I was pretty fucking hyped. That's for damn sure.
And then I think my immediate response was trampoline.
Oh yeah.
Fuck.
That was the first thing I thought of. That's just how excited you were, Matt.
I remember the night of the conference. I think like Marty was working in a place where he had to get up early, so he was actually asleep when the conference was on. And then he sent us a screenshot of his app icon the next day, and there were 97 missed messages.
Oh, that's nothing. I'm in a group chat and I get like I'll go in and there's just be hundreds and hundreds of them missing per day, and I just like nope. I swipe in. and I
You're
go
reading
to
a
the bottom,
novel every day.
They very well. In fact, a person who listens to this podcast knows that I automatically mute that chat, and I don't bother to actually look at it.
All right, next up here, we got Twitch will ban streamers for serious off-platform conduct and harassment. This is from GameSpot. Twitch has given a clearer outline of how it will handle off-platform harassment and serious misconduct. In a blog post, the company categorized off-platform harassment into two sections: harassment that occurs on Twitch and other platforms, and harassment that takes place entirely off-platform. Prior to this, its policy for the latter was not written out in detail. Category 1 covers cases where harassment takes place both on Twitch and off of it, citing a specific example of what counts as the first category. Twitch stated that it would take related harassment on Twitter into account when investigating a reported misconduct incident during a Twitch livestream. The newer part is a Category 2. Twitch will now enforce against serious offenses that pose a substantial safety risk to the Twitch community, even if those actions occur entirely off Twitch. The platform goes on to enumerate what behaviors fall under this umbrella, including deadly violence and violent extremism, terrorist activities or recruiting, explicit and or credible threats of mass violence, i.e. threats against a group of people, event, or location where people would gather, leadership or membership in a known hate group, carrying out or acting as an accomplice to non-consensual sexual activities and or sexual assault, sexual exploitation of children, such as child grooming and solicitation, distribution of underage sexual materials, actions that would directly and explicitly compromise the physical safety of the Twitch community, such as threatening violence at a Twitch event, and explicit and or credible threats against Twitch, including Twitch staff. Whew. That's quite a bit
holy
there.
fuck, this got way more serious than me bitching about a DualSense microphone. Holy fuck. Jesus.
The early on in that list you just did, it did say that it was also going to look at instances on Twitter. Like they're going outside of Twitch to look at possible instances. Yes. Okay, that's interesting.
This says, I believe it was like during the live stream. I don't know if they'll go after you, like just if you tweet something.
That's a bit confusing.
Yeah,
even as a content creator, is like, I need a little bit more specifics on that.
Well, this was supposed to be the specific. They probably have an actual document you can go read. I'm getting this from GameSpot.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, and you're gonna get those people that are like, oh well, the world police, they're policing my behavior outside of the platform right. As well. It's just like, well, why would they want to associate with somebody who like is getting nothing but bad press on a different social media platform? Like,
well, this is always the struggle too with these like self-made. You're almost an employee of Twitch, but it's just like you happen to be an employee naturally. Whereas any other like media, if you were like a host on a talk show or something, and something happened off screen, you would still get punishment or be fired.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like people think they have a right just because they made their own Twitch account and stream on their own Twitch account, that Twitch has no right to punish them.
I don't know. I don't know if I feel like maybe people do feel that way, but that just doesn't make sense. Like, you can sit there and think about it for 2 seconds and you can think about how that doesn't make sense. People don't like the fact that it's like, oh, well, I didn't do anything wrong on your platform, so why are you banning me on this platform? It's like, well, why would they want to associate with somebody with this reputation, A? And B, it's like, this isn't like it was when you were a kid where, oh, I took something from the candy shop without paying for it when I was 4 years old and the world didn't find out about it. It's like, yeah, that's because the internet didn't exist at that time. But like, if you're going to put it out there on the internet, you have to understand that it might reach ears that you don't want it to reach. Like, you have to be kind of smart about what you're saying if you're trying to pursue a career as a public figure. You can't just not be held accountable for your actions because you think that it's not fair that this platform is policing you based on what you did on another platform.
Yeah, and listing out some of these things, this is all pretty extreme stuff here. It's not just like telling someone to go, F off or something.
Mm-hmm.
it's like these are actual serious
Criminal
charges
charges.
here. And criminal, yeah. So
You know what? I've always wondered too, like, because some of that stuff's so serious, like, is there a company that all these guys go to? Because, like, is there like a PI agency? Because I don't, unless Twitch hires, like, you know what I mean? Like, how does Twitch, some stuff's blatant, it's on Twitter, it's public, fine. But, like, how do these companies, Twitch and other companies,
there might be
figure this stuff
independent
out?
investigative teams like that, right?
Hiring the friggin' Pinkertons here, like.
I suppose, yeah. But there's probably some sort of company that does it.
Because
I
like
do know that
like,
Apple has like its own like little like police force.
like, but under like hired by Apple or like
Yeah, they're Apple employees who are
Oh,
like
that's
a police
interesting.
force to investigate any kind of leaks or any issues that they have.
Jesus.
So Matt, you better be careful on your Twitter. Just
My
Yeah,
Twitter, in
man.
which I haven't tweeted in God knows how long. Oh yeah.
all right. Final story for the week, which is kind of an old story. This was more to kind of spark a conversation. But EA patented a adaptive difficulty system that adjusts to keep you playing longer. So now there was a correction to this, just saying that basically EA was like refiling their patent that they had already filed in 2016.
We've been using this for years, guys.
Yeah,
So this is the anti-rage quit mechanic you're saying.
pretty much. It's a system that dynamically adjusts at how difficult a game is. So it will kind of keep an eye on you, see how you're doing, and if you keep getting killed or something, it'll make it easier so you actually get through it, which will then cause you to play the game longer, which will, I mean, in the end, they're hoping you spend more money, right?
It's funny because it's not the first time that I've heard of a mechanic like this. It's sort of an unknown mechanic in Demon Souls, actually, where there's this mechanic in the game called, I think it's called World Tendency or something like that. That's not it.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
think.
yeah.
But anyway,
That's right.
and I think it's in the remake as well.
Mhm.
Where if you're dying a lot, then it makes it so that you don't come up against as much of a challenge when you're playing the game.
Adaptive difficulty.
Adaptive difficulty, yeah, and in so many words. And if you are kicking ass and you're getting lots of souls and stuff, and you're not dying very often, then it's harder essentially. And this was back in 2000. When did that game come out? 2009, 2008.
There's an earlier one. Resident Evil 4 does that exact same thing.
Yeah, it's the thing in Resident Evil as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of good videos kind of dissecting it and just how tastefully it does it, and it doesn't even let the player, how it never lets the player actually be aware of it, that they're slightly adjusting the difficulty, so you're always kind of in line with your skill set.
It
Well,
says
Left 4 Dead
here
as
that
well.
it was
There's the
used in
idea
Left
of
4
the
Dead.
yeah, I was going to say Left 4 Dead. The idea of the what's it called?
The director.
Director. Yeah, director AI.
So is that how we got through it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, that's right. That 100%.
We sucked.
It's pretty clever, I gotta say. You
Here's a
just
question.
ratchet down the difficulty a little bit, so it still feels like the people are like, oh yeah, I had to work through that in order to succeed, but it didn't necessarily feel too easy.
Here's a question. If you had the ability to turn it on before starting your game, would you turn it on?
Yes.
Really?
Depends, I think. It depends on the developer. Because
I guess type of game,
a lot of people argue on the whole, like, air quotes, like, intended experience when it comes to
Mhm.
games, and they're like, oh, I want to play it the way the developers intended for it to be played, so I play on normal difficulty or whatever. And there's a whole bunch of, like, gatekeepy bullshit around that whole thing. That's a whole other conversation. But, like, I like to play most games on normal difficulty because I feel like that's the way that they intended for you to play through it the first time. I'm a big fan of difficulty settings in games because it just makes it more accessible for more people, and namely for people who might have like disabilities. That makes it harder for them to play games. It makes it so they can also enjoy those stories and play through them themselves. I think it's really important to have as an accessibility feature. And plus, it's a fucking video game. Like, you're supposed to have fun when you're playing it. And if you're sitting there and you're getting frustrated and annoyed and you're not having a good time because it's too hard or whatever, then why shouldn't you be able to adjust it so that the game is more fun? Like there is no argument against that will convince me that like difficulty settings are ever a bad thing.
Even with the Soulsborne games?
100%. Like I do like that those games went after a certain thing, but it's like if you want to play a game for the sake of challenge, if that's what you want, then those games sort of fit that niche. But I do think that they would be better if they had scalable difficulty. And it's like, again, you can argue the whole like intended experience thing when it comes to that, but I think it would be made better if people if developers had given scalable difficulty settings.
I really liked the idea of the director, but I also like that Left 4 Dead has the scale too, like normal through expert, as well as I think maybe even easy and through expert, and then also realism in the second game as well, which also I believe has difficulties too. And then there's the director in each one. I do think that's good, like because some games too, like based on what the developer wants you to feel, some games like you're supposed to feel like a badass. Like you're supposed to, and so like you running around killing everything is like, well, yeah, because like you're
Like
I don't know, the god of whatever. Like the Doom, yeah, that's a good one. So like that totally makes sense. So I think Left 4 Dead kind of like even before this argument really even came out, Left 4 Dead kind of almost mastered it already. So hopefully Back 4 Blood's like that. Honestly,
I imagine it will be. I imagine it will be very similar to Left 4 Dead.
It's funny that this topic of conversation comes up, and I didn't really mean to like segue into this, but a friend of mine who's a content creator on Twitch, and she's becoming very popular these days. A couple of articles, I think a Kotaku and maybe another article website wrote articles about her because she did a bit of a rant this week about this very topic, just saying like she's playing Kingdom Hearts on the easiest difficulty and going through the entire series because she's trying to pay attention to the story. She's not playing it to have like a hardcore time, because I'm not super familiar with the games, but I know people. It's well enough in the pop culture sphere, I think, that people know those games are pretty much just made to be more grindy on the higher difficulties. And if that's your bag, that's totally fine. For me, that really sucks the fun out of a game. If the enemies just have like more health and deal more damage, that's not more difficult. That's just more tedious. But anyway, so she went on a bit of a rant saying like, people are coming in and they're saying like, oh, why are you playing on like, baby difficulty? Like, oh, of course girls have to play on easy difficulty because they don't have, the skill. Guys are just better at games. All this like bullshit, right? And she's like, if I want to play it on this difficulty so that I can get through it and I can pay more attention to the story and the characters and enjoy the experience, then that's what I'm going to do. Why would I like needlessly set this game to be harder so that it's going to be a worse experience for me and then a worse experience for the people watching because I'm not having as much fun playing the game? Like, just let people play games the way they want to play them. That's why they're called games, because they're supposed to be fun. And of course, most of the, response to that has been a good response. But, there's always that percentage of people saying like, oh, this is, people are lesser for playing on easier difficulty, which is just bullshit. And I mean, again, when it goes back to even just like the accessibility piece that I was talking about before, even if it's just for that, it's 1,000,000% valid. And anyone who disagrees with that, just their opinion is just not valuable at all.
I would love to see an experiment. Probably like an indie developer would probably be able to pull this off. I want to see a game present its difficulty options at the beginning, not as easy, medium, hard, or whatever, but as just something completely arbitrary, and then collect data based on that. Like, it literally pick your difficulty, X, circle, square, and triangle, but don't actually say what those difficulties are.
How are you supposed to know?
you can have a little bit of adaptive difficulty on it, like have each one of those as a preset, whether it's easy, medium, hard, extra hard, but then still have like an adaptive level on it, and just kind of see how players deal with each one.
Just the psychological aspect of it as well.
Yeah, because I don't think it helps that they people call it easy, normal, or hard, or easy, medium, and hard. I think that middle word of normal or medium is
because it's like relative to what.
Yeah, like it's a dimensionless word. It doesn't like what is normal. So I've always been kind of curious to know what is an alternate way you could present difficulty options. Like, do you do like a questionnaire like some games do, and do a personality test and then do it based on that? Like,
I have seen some games just listed as like, I want to experience the story, or
story difficulty, explorer difficulty,
stuff like that. I do agree with you guys, first of all, that there's no problems with adding more options, right? But just being a good little bit of a devil's advocate here, if we want to consider games art, then I think we also shouldn't criticize a developer who wants to only make their game hard, like the Soulsborne games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Like, there is a niche that can be achieved. Like, not every game has to do it. I think that every game should, and it makes games better for doing that. But developers are still well within their rights to make games, a specific difficulty for the experience of it. If that's the intention of the experience, then I'm on board with it.
Right, because to me, it's almost like in certain cases, it's like telling Tarantino to make his movies less violent because I want my kids to watch it or something.
Yeah, it's a stylistic choice, right?
Yeah, but games do have the option though. Like movies, like if you don't have an option to turn it down a bit, but games you do have that option, right?
People with movies, they do like TV edits, and they do the
Jeepers Creepers, that thing's real.
Yeah, wasn't there like an alternate version of Deadpool 2 where they put it back in theaters with? Like,
I don't know how they did that. Working some magic in the editing room there.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't even remember if I've seen Deadpool 2, to be honest. I can't remember which. Okay, is the superhero that's just incredibly lucky that nothing bad ever happens to her? Is she in the second one?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have seen it. I couldn't remember which Deadpool movie I'd see.
It's the one with the what's his name? Cameo.
Thanos?
Not Thanos.
No, it is Thanos. Josh Brolin.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah. So I think I have seen.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, not Thanos, but the actual actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's his name? I can't think of his stupid name. The actor who's the invisible superhero that goes into the power line.
What the fuck?
Oh, what's his name?
I remember that now. That was really good. I totally remember.
Brad Pitt. He's on screen for all of like 10 frames, I think.
That's him?
Yeah, Brad Pitt's the invisible superhero.
Oh my god, I didn't
it's
know
like
that.
the shortest cameo ever.
Wow.
We'd have to time him and that one guy on Suicide Squad.
Oh,
the guy who climbs things?
Yeah, he can climb anything.
He can climb anything, yeah.
I mean, him being on screen for 1 second is more time than Brad Pitt's cameo.
Jesus.
Like with the Souls games, I would not have been able to. Well, I definitely didn't go through Bloodborne. Like Aaron and Ryan here absolutely carried me to the end of Bloodborne.
They were your difficulty setting.
Yeah, pretty much. There's no fucking way in hell that I would have ever completed that game.
Oh, Aaron is a godsend when it comes to the Soulsborne games.
You know what's funny is that that's when this conversation comes up and the people talk about Souls, the FromSoft games. That's what people say. It's like the Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Sekiro. They have, well, not Sekiro, but those games have a difficulty setting. Easy mode is summoning people. Hard mode is playing through it alone.
Yeah. All right, that's all we got for this week. Thanks for listening. You can catch Tim on the Twitch Mondays through Thursdays at
twitch.tv/ Yeah, that figures. Playing a lot of Oblivion.
At the crack of dawn.
What's that?
You play at the crack of dawn. I'm still getting up.
It's not that early.
Wait, what time do you go on?
I start around 9:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, okay.
Which for me, used to be like a half hour after I got up, but I don't know what happened. But suddenly, like I'm waking up before my alarm every day now.
There you go.
So,
Sucks, eh?
No, it's great. It gives me so much time to actually like properly, have a good proper morning routine. I'm not rushing. I get to like casually make my coffee in the morning. I get to sit down at my desk and get things exactly the way I want them without any pressure of being late. It's great.
All right, and we also stream on the Wednesdays on twitch.tv/DayOnePatchMedia. We're still doing the Sea of Thieves, I think.
Yeah, season 2's about to start. They're
Is that something we can do?
Yeah, there's a free.
the progress track is going to reset. And one of the updates that they teased in one of the teasers was you can hide in barrels now.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
buddy.
You can just spawn a barrel and put it over you and just sit there, which is going to make PvP on random islands very interesting.
Imagine just sitting there for like an hour waiting for someone to come by.
Oh my God.
And someone gets a lucky blunderbuss on you.
Yeah, and then they blunderbuss you and you immediately die.
You just have like, where are there so many fucking mermaids sitting around the island? And then just an island full of barrels. You just start panicking. You're like, oh fuck.
Oh God.
Which one's which?
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.